Hey guys, we're looking today at this knife. This is the Lionsteel TRE. This is the G10 version. There we go. So originally the TRE stood for 3 rapid exchange, so you could alter the way the knife opened. Just a bit of a gimmick. One of the things that Lionsteel seems to pull out every year to win the Blade Show award. I think this year they pulled out a chameleon handle that changed colour with your grip. So what they seem to do often is get a really good basic knife design. In this case, the TRE on the camo thing, it was the Kerr, and then just put a bit of a flourish on it to get a bit of press, which is completely fine. But this is the sort of the user version, or the pared down version, the economy version, so to speak, although how much economy you could call a $250 knife. But anyway, this doesn't have those features. So this just has a flipper tab, which is non-removable and has no thumb stud. So I guess it's only got the 2 rapid exchange, because you can still use the flipper or you can still pinch open it. So there you are. Anyway, so the G10 handle on this side, the titanium scale on this side with the frame lock, with the insert to stop the over travel, and also with a steel face to stop lock stick, a sculpted pocket clip. You've got a G10 backspacer there, and you've got a 3-inch flat ground blade of M390 steel. So I'll just put a picture up which has all the number type specs right now. That should be on your screen. But for the better way of learning how big a knife is, I like to look at it in comparison to some other knives. Start with the Spyderco Delica. I'll do clip sides up because it's easier to stand the knives. So that is a Delica. I'll go from blade pivot to blade pivot. So the blade on the Lionsteel about as long as the Delica, handle about half an inch shorter. Benchmade 940 has that 3.5-inch blade. Just got that extra little finger length there. A little bit of a longer handle as well. You've got a Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Much sort of bigger knife overall. That handle is huge compared to the little Lionsteel one. And then a really comparable knife in terms of price, in terms of function, in terms of philosophy, it's the Spyderco Mantra #1. Again, slightly longer handle, but for all intents and purposes, similar length blade, similar carry knife. So let's get into what I like, what I don't like, and my general thoughts about the knife. Alrighty, so what I like the most. I love the blade. Everything about the blade is fantastic. Full flat grind, 3 inches, great for everyone, 3-inch blade. Very few places are too bothered by 3 inches. Really well ground, comes competently sharp, not bleedingly sharp, so it's not as sharp as some of the Spydercos I've had, not as sharp as the Mantra was when it came, not as sharp as some of the cold steels I've had, but still a very sharp knife. As you can see, it definitely slices that paper well enough, and sharpness is something that I can certainly fix myself if I do feel like adding a touch more. So I loved every single thing about the blade. The M390 steel is great. My first knife in it, I've had the similar recipe CPM 20CV on my Benchmade Griptilian, and it's a very, very well performing steel. And it's quite easy to resharpen as well, in my experience. And that was before I had the Tormek. But even on stones, I never had too much bother with my CPM 20 CV. So hopefully that trend continues here. So I really, really like the blade. They've done a few nice things with it. It's a pocket knife, so you're not too bothered about flat spine, so they've gone and added a nice rounded over spine there. I hope to finish this review, or accentuate it with some nice pictures of the knife to hopefully draw out some of these features. So I really, really like just the blade in general, how they've finished it. I like their subtle branding on it. It's it's laser etched. I think it's got a slight roughness to it, so it probably will eventually flake off, but just nice and subtle, nothing huge across here or anything like that. The pivot runs on IKBS, so that's your primarily seen in CRKT knives. Lots of tiny little ball bearings running freely in like a little caged pivot type thing, so they can't escape obviously just by shaking a knife or anything. They are trapped, but it leads to, in theory, very, very smooth openings. So I guess I'll speak a bit more about that later, because I do have something to say on that. Now the frame lock is a really, really good frame lock. They've got a great amount of material here to catch and push across, and it has really, really tight lockup, as you'd expect from Lionsteel, who have some of the best fit and finish in the business. But overall, they've gone with all the little flourishes. They've gone for the over travel stop, and face, like the, what's it called? The part that connects with the blade tang. Ugh, that thing, that's gone to stainless steel. Lock insert, lock face insert, whatever, lock bar insert. Ugh, got there in the end. It's got good spring tension. It locks up about halfway, which is what I like. No problems at all there. And when you squeeze and cut with a knife, you don't push it over. It's got all the tricks ironed out. So very, very cool indeed. I love the look of the handle. They've got some cool little machining details, and it is, for me, a comfortable handle in hand. So some people find it a little bit edgy or a little bit angular. For my hand, it fits really, really well. Doing, you know, hammer grip cuts, doing sort of your slightly more nimble stuff. Feels really, really good in hand, especially for an EDC knife, which is just going to be doing a few cuts from time to time. I have cut a bit of rope with it, not my proper rope cut test. I'm waiting till the edge wears out, and then I'm trying to enjoy this factory edge as long as I can before I have to put a convex workshop edge on it to do the test. Anyway, so I have been doing a little bit of like harder cutting, and it's completely comfortable. So blade, handle comfort, all the aspects of goodness are here. It definitely does the basics really, really well. Let's get into the things I'm not super thrilled about on this knife. So, the action is now good, and I guess the action is now good, so it's been fixed. So, yeah, it's good now, but when you get it, it's bad. They use this grease, it's like a thicker, heavier stuff to, I suppose, maybe just protect the IKPS or something, I don't know. In transit, who knows, but it comes with a really, I'll roll in some clips of me opening it first, and it still doesn't open every time, but I have fixed it up massively. It comes with a very slow pivot. It's a smooth pivot, but a slow pivot. And on a flipper knife, you don't want a slow pivot, you want a nice, fast, smooth pivot. And on IKBS, that shouldn't be a hard thing to do, but I really had to go back to the drawing board with it and gut it with WD-40. So absolutely nuke the thing with the WD-40, get all that grease out, and then work that through, and then had to replace whatever was in there and dry all the WD-40 out. I had to replace that with some good 10 weight nano oil. So now it flips about as good as I think you could get it to flip. Still not amazing though. It's a light little blade, so it's never going to flip fantastically, but it definitely flies out 90% of the time really easily. But the next thing about it is, let's zoom in, this area here. This is where your thumb lands after you complete your flip, and it's slightly sharp. So sharp edge here and sharp edge here. And as a result you get, here I'll flip it, and as a result you get a little bit of a pinch there. So for playing with on the couch, it's not ideal. You need to sort of modify your flip a little tiny bit, but it's hard to do. So yeah, I don't really know what I can do to fix that. I could probably ease off the corners here with a little bit of sandpaper or something, which I might have a go at, but yeah, just a little bit of a non-ideal flipping action, and also flipping mechanism too. So it's probably, you know, and it's not a small critique. It's a fair criticism on a knife that is just a flipper. So overall, though, I guess that's just one part of the journey of using the knife: opening, using, and then closing. And the using and then closing are really, really great indeed. So. Maybe I'll get my head around using it a little bit differently, but when you compare it to a good flipper like the Spyderco Mantra, which still isn't one of the world's best flippers, but that's it's got smooth, these parts here are smoother, and it's got more flipper to push onto, and it definitely flips open every time. So a bit of light switching involved, but this one, you can't quite set your watch to it just yet, although it's only been here a few days, so break-in period might be a small time, I don't know. So, not super keen on that, and the other thing I'm not super keen on is the sculpted pocket clip. So the pocket clip here is not a sprung one, so it's a piece of metal that's cut out so your pocket sort of fits underneath it, so to speak. And it just feels a little bit tight pushing it over your pocket. And I know I'm spoiled by the spring clip and the spoon clip, which aren't great looking clips, but are very, very easy to slide on and off the pockets. This one, and I'll show you some footage of it going in pocket, it's not the best. It's not terrible. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but I'm just not stoked on it. Not at all. So anyway, pocket clip and flipping action aside, in hand and in terms of being a knife, it's a good example, I think, of a good pocket knife. It's nice and small, it's compact, it's light, it's got a great blade steel that's really well ground, comfortable in hand. It does go fine in your pocket. Like, it's not terrible, but the clip is not great. I would much prefer a more disposable or a less artsy clip, for sure. The lockup is good. The flipping is average, and the flipping comfort is poor. The price is high. It's $250, which I guess is about the same as the Mantra here, which does it have better materials? Well, the Mantra's got 2 slabs of titanium and this one only has 1, but this one has an geez, there's that crappy flipping action again. This is that M390 blade steel, and which I think is probably going to outperform and also out stainless the M4. It's just from my research I've done so far. Interested to see if it pans out, but this is pretty widely regarded as one of, if not the best, common blade steel in production knives these days. I'm sure Maximet probably outcuts it, and I'm sure your CPM 10V and stuff is rarer and probably outcuts it. But in terms of an overall, I think this is moving towards being what S30V was 15 years ago, if you get my meaning. So yeah. Stay tuned for a shootout between these two knives. I know I've done a few knocks on this one, but then this one I've used for a bit longer, and so I've got some more more to say about it as well. So stay tuned. What do you think of this? What do you think of the looks of this knife? And what do you think of the flipper not being amazing? Do you think that breaks it? Do you think that's something that I should really scold it too hard on, or is flipping just a small part of the knife journey? I don't know. It's a funny one. I can't quite see why it does flip poorly, because the detent in this one is pretty reasonable. I know on the titanium TRE they'd softened it so it wasn't as infuriating to open with your thumb stud, because it was a bit stiff for the thumb stud apparently. So this one has a bit more of a intense detent, but still, yeah, I mean, I know it's flipping open now, but it's definitely more work to do it. And I know lighter blade, even the Mantra would have a slightly heavier blade than this one. Lighter blade, smaller flipper tab, and probably a bit of grease on my hands right now from the nano oil and stuff still being unset. It's probably doing the trick, but anyway. Knife shootout on these two to come soon, and that's the Lionsteel TRE. My thoughts for now.